Hello, my tarts and Vickers. Today I'm going to make a caramelized onion tart with goat cheese and fig preserves. So we have to start off with the tart crust. Here I've measured out 14 ounces of flour, and this is 10 ounces of butter, and I'm gonna combine these now. The butter is very cold. I just took it out of the freezer cut up like this because when I went to cut it up, it was already very soft, and that was no bueno. So, yep, we're just gonna get this nice and combined here with a pastry cutter. You can do this in a food processor. You can do this with a stand mixer. There's lots of ways you can do this. I like to do things by hand. I just do. So that's what I'm doing. So you want to cut these down. Just keep going with it. Don't worry if it sticks to the pastry cutter, because if you just keep pushing, it will just keep going through. And you just want to keep pushing. Get all of that nicely worked until you have little bits of butter that are about the size of a pea, and maybe a little bit bigger here and there, but not much. So I'm almost there already. Okay, just a little bit more here. See, it doesn't really take that long to do it, and it gives your arm a nice little boost. Feels good on the muscles. Might as well get a little calisthenics in while you're making something that is delightful. All right.
I'm not sure if that's considered calisthenics.
Well, it's definitely some kind of exercise.
Yeah.
And so I like to use like a knife or a spatula to do this. Not all pastry cutters are sharp. This one is surprisingly sharp. Like one time, or the first time I used it, I tried to clear things off with my fingers, and I ended up slicing pretty much my entire finger, like almost the whole length of it, because this thing is sharp. So I'm gonna do a little bit more here because it's almost there, but not quite. It was. I was very upset because I couldn't really shape my dough with my finger like that. I had to put on gloves, and yeah, I was just in pain, and you can avoid that by doing this. And as per usual, I am not avoiding making a mess, but whatever. So we're done with those, and now I've got about a cup of ice water here, but I'm not going to use the whole cup. I'm going to start small, and I'm going to use this little spatula to just kind of, so I'll start with 3 tablespoons of water, and I'm probably going to need more than that. So you just want to start tossing it. And turning the bowl while you're tossing it. And add 3 more tablespoons of water. And same deal, just keep tossing. And you want to work kind of fast, because unless you have like a ridiculously cold kitchen, which I had in Portland. It's clean, it's fine. I had a ridiculously cold kitchen in Portland, and where are we? I'm gonna give this a little bit more water. So 3 more tablespoons. It will really depend on the humidity of your day, what type of flour you're using, and you know, Those are really the two factors that matter the most. This is a gluten-free flour blend, so it takes a little bit more water than regular flour does. It's also a lot more forgiving, like it doesn't become tough the way that flour with gluten has a tendency to do. So, wow, and I think I even still need a little bit more water. So, I'm just gonna keep going. You go by feel when you're making pie crust. And this is starting to look better. All right, I think we're there. Yeah, that's what you want. You want it to hold together. And so I'm gonna kind of do this with it a little bit, and then I'm gonna turn it out onto my work surface. Continue to incorporate it. Thanks. I don't need it. Okay. So we're just going to continue to incorporate it. And it's going to do this a little bit, and that's okay. And it's also good to use like a bench scraper for this. Like scraping your workbench and making sure that it stays cold. It's better to use this in your hands to pick it up because your hands are warm. Mine are very warm now because it's really nice in here. All right, so now you're gonna wanna take this and you're gonna wrap it in plastic. And okay, my lovely assistant is getting me some plastic. Okay. All right. We'll see. I think it might be. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna put it in plastic.
No plastic.
Yeah, it's fine. It is fine. See, that was perfect. All right. So now I'm just gonna get this a little bit cleaned up, and I think I might just set it on this plate because it is a little crummy on the bottom. And I'm gonna.
And the plate is cold.
The plate is cold because it was in the freezer, yes. So I'm gonna do this a little bit too because this also, is this getting in the shot? Okay. This also will help you to combine it so that there are no cracks in it. So you can put this in the fridge and let it sit for probably about half an hour. You want it to be nice and cold when you roll it out. And then we'll go to the next step.
See you in a bit.
Yep. All right, and we're back with our chilled dough. I'm only gonna use probably about half of this. The nice thing about this dough is that it freezes really well. So I'm going to put this part away and use it another time. But this recipe is good like if you have a larger pie plate. It's good for that. It's good for a double crusted recipe. And I'm actually gonna grab a little bit of bench flour. All right. So you can do this a few different ways. Some people like to use parchment paper, and that's also fine. If you don't have parchment paper, that's also fine. But I'm just gonna kind of mold this into roughly a disc before I get going on it. And this will help bring it back up to enough temperature so that it can spread for you, because you don't want it to be so hard that it just cracks when you go to spread it. So there we go. Got both sides pretty well floured. I'm gonna start off by kind of just beating it up a little bit and also picking it up every time I do this so that it doesn't stick to the table. Now I can roll it out a little. And you want to just be even with it. And every time you roll it, you want to pick it up. And if it's not a perfect circle, that's okay. This is gonna go over your pie. Well, actually in this case it's a tart pan. Oops.
Oh no.
It's fine, it's totally fine. Pie crust, I mean, it's kind of a pain, but it's also not. Like, I mean, you can just repair it pretty easily if it cracks when you're moving it. And that's okay.
So here's a question.
Yep.
If, when you go to put the pie crust on the pie tin, are you gonna put it in the fridge before you
Yeah.
bake it?
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna kind of wrap it around because it's a little delicate this time. So there we go. All right, so then I'm just gonna, like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you can move it. It's pretty forgiving. And you're gonna put it back in the fridge too. So if it gets a little bit too warm, that's also okay. What? I know sometimes this is how it goes. I mean, it just is. And I'm not the only one this will happen to, so.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Everyone knows that I'm a professional klutz though. So even a professional klutz can do this. See? And if you have any spots that are being little assholes, you can always take a little bit, just press it in there and repair it. All right. And I am actually going to leave this as it is, even when I bake it, because tart dough has a tendency to shrink back. So if you cut it off before you bake it, you're gonna have a bad time. I'm gonna get before anything else happens to this, you wanna dock it like this. And this just prevents any bubbles from forming.
Air pockets.
Yeah, you don't want big air pockets in this. It's not a tortilla. So now this is gonna go back in the refrigerator for about, I'm gonna give it about 20 minutes, and then I will bake it from there. Hello, so what I'm doing right now is got some parchment paper, and I'm crumpling it up because you want it to be nice and pliable for when you throw it in the pie crust. So I'm gonna put this in like this and see how nicely it lays when you do that. Like if you just use regular parchment paper, it kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit tough. And I'm pouring in some beans to weigh everything down. And this is gonna go into a preheated 425-degree oven for about 15 minutes. And then we'll be back. Now what I'm doing is just coating the bottom of a stainless steel pan with some neutral oil. And I'm gonna take a few onions. I'm gonna start with 3. I might want more, I'm not sure yet. Got my knife. And I'm just gonna chop these up and get them into my pan. There's nothing really fancy about how I'm chopping these. You just wanna get them kind of thin. And I'm using sweet onions for this. You can use pretty much any kind of onion you want to. I don't like using red onions because they turn gray and it's really delicious but off-putting looking. And I feel like, I mean, as a lot of people say, you eat with your eyes as much as you do everything else. So, yeah. Well,
Your senses,
you
your
know,
5 senses.
yes. Most people use all 5, so yeah. So yeah, I'm just slicing. When I get to about there, I do this. Make sure sure your knife is good and sharp.
I think also when you use sweet onions, you're contributing more to the caramelization of the onion.
Well, maybe.
You know.
Yeah,
it's
there is
sweeter,
probably more sugar in them.
so the sugar content's going to be higher.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm not totally sure if that's true, but maybe. All right, so we're down to the end of this, and I have gotten to about 5 onions, which these are gonna cook down a lot. So caramelizing onions takes time. When you see a recipe that talks about how you can caramelize onions in 10 minutes, they're lying. They're lying to you. That is a bunch of bunk. This is gonna take, all told, probably about 45 minutes. So be ready for that. So this is 5 onions. I've got it coated with oil, and we're gonna go over to the stove.
Yay.
So I'm adding a pinch of salt here, and there is some controversy with this, but some people really feel like salt is the enemy of browning. I don't. I feel like for something like this, that's going to cook for a long time, you actually want it to sweat. And what the salt is going to do is it's going to bring the moisture out. It's going to cook in its own moisture. And that sweat will allow everything to cook more evenly. You're not going to have burnt onions. And so once I get this going, I'm going to turn the heat down. It's on high right now just to kind of get it rolling. But once it gets going, then I'll turn it down a little bit, and we're just going to gradually watch it change. Okay, can you see in the pan here?
Yeah.
See how look at all this liquid that's right here. This is what you want to see just before you turn the heat down. So I've got it on high right now. I'm going to let this go for maybe another minute while the water continues to cook out of it a little bit. Well, it's just sweating right now. And you're kind of keeping it moving at this stage so that it doesn't scorch on the bottom. But this is about the first stage that you want to see. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium-high at this point. So right around 7. And at this point, I'm just going to kind of let it simmer a little bit in its own goodness. And lucky us, the timer is about to go off, and we can take the tart shell out. Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So the tart shell has been baking, and we are going to take out the baking beans right now. And I've got just a metal bowl that I'm going to use for this. And the reason I'm using a metal bowl is because it doesn't absorb a lot of heat, and these beans will cool off very quickly. And then you can put them away. All right, so.
Still a little doughy.
Well, no, this, yeah, it goes back in for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now. All right. Yep. Okay. So yeah, the onions are really sweating at this point. And you can see there's a lot of liquid there, and that liquid is working to cook everything. And it'll just continue to go this way from here on out. I'll probably reduce the heat one more time, but not yet. Because you want to start off warm enough to get it going, and then once it's going, you can reduce the heat by quite a bit. So we'll come back in a few minutes. So another thing you can do to also kind of accelerate the cooking process, but you can see this is starting to dry out a little bit. And we don't want it to dry out too much, so I'm gonna add some water to it. And that is completely acceptable. You can do that. And this will allow the cooking process to continue, and you'll get that slower Maillard going on rather than the burning, because you don't want the burning.
You want the slow caramelization. Taste is sweet.
And not delicious. Acrid and like, yeah. All right, and the crust is ready.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
So this is going to cool for a little while, and it's a little cracked, but I mean, it is what it is. It's also probably going to shrink back a little bit before it's cool. And that's also just kind of how it goes. So we're gonna let that rest for a little while, and then I'm going to make kind of a custard base with the goat cheese. So we will do that in just a few minutes. All right, so into this bowl, I'm going to add 8 ounces of goat cheese. And this is fresh and local, or at least relatively local. And I'm gonna do this in a separate bowl because you never know when you're gonna get a bad egg. So, yeah. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's very annoying. So, I'm going to add 3 eggs to this. Actually, I think I'm gonna do 4. I'm feeling fancy. These all feel pretty good, and they look pretty good. Yay. And a little salt. Should I add garlic? I think garlic would be probably a little too much, actually, so I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to use the smaller, this little guy. And I'm just going to whisk it on up. And I like to keep going with eggs until they are basically broken down the albumin and it's not gloopy, which is pretty important for custard. I love these eggs though, they're so bright this time.
Yeah, they're lovely.
And this is a little
Hard.
Yeah, it's fine actually. It's okay.
That's good.
Yeah. Go ahead and add this in. And just gonna get going on that. Again, I could do this in the stand mixer, but I like doing stuff by hand. So. Now this is gonna be a yellow custard.
I mean, yeah.
Those are some really nice eggs. This is really satisfying. Just like spending a little bit of time breaking up the lumps. If you're an impatient person, go ahead and use your stand mixer. It's all right. Okay. But just the natural flavor of the goat cheese, I think, is really enough for this. The star of the show is really going to be what happens when we combine the caramelized onions with the fig preserves. All right, so that looks pretty good. And I'm gonna add to that about 2 tablespoons of flour. Okay, so now I'm sifting in just a couple tablespoons of flour, 2 to be exact. So we have a little bit of a binder going on. And the reason this flour looks the way that it does is because I use teff flour in my all-purpose blend. Your mileage may vary depending on what kind of flour you're using, but this is generally a pretty good one. And I really like how nutritious teff is. All right, so this is good for now. We're gonna let everything rest for a few minutes so that the flour can hydrate. And then we will pour that into our tart shell and get that going in the oven. And it's gonna bake for about 20 minutes, maybe 25. Okay, so I've got the custard going into the pie crust. The pie crust has had some time to cool. The custard has had some time to hydrate. And actually, I think I am gonna use all of it. I thought maybe I would have to bake some off in a ramekin, but I think it's all gonna go in. Cool. All right. So I have this on a baking tray because sometimes things bubble over. And yeah, you don't want it to end up on your oven floor because that ends up being gross. You can see that some pie crust actually flaked off, and I'm gonna have to clean that up later, but I'm not gonna worry about it right this second. And I'm also not going to worry about steaming this because there's going to be things on top of it. So you don't have to have that perfect outer crust. Well, it's not even a crust, it's just the perfect surface.
Cheesecake.
Yeah. Like if you're doing a cheesecake and you want it to be really impressive, then of course you would use like a steam bath, but we're not doing that today. So it'll be what it is. And I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes to start off with.
That's it.
That's it for now. Hi, so now we are in kind of a crucial, a little bit of a transitional phase. The water is starting to really cook off, and it's starting to catch a little bit on the bottom. In order to keep that from happening, we're just going to keep adding just little bits of water as we need it. And the tart is about to come out. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good.
Lovely.
Cooked a little long, but
for our purposes, it's perfect.
Yeah, and that looks pretty good. So it's okay if it has a little bit of browning on top. And we're just gonna let that cool off, and then we will continue on with our process in just a few minutes. Okay, so it's still not very dark, but we've gotten to more of a consistency that I want to stay with. So at this point I've turned the heat down so that I don't scorch anything. And if I really feel like something's catching or sticking to the bottom, then I will add more water, but I don't want to add more water at this point because it'll be like the onion equivalent of applesauce, and that's just, ugh, we don't want that. So that's where we're at right now. It's so far taken longer than I thought it was going to. It's been an hour. So, and I think in the past when I've done this, it has varied. It depends on how much I'm doing at a time. This was 5 onions. Look at how much 5 onions have cooked down in an hour.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So we're just gonna keep going with this until it's done. I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna take maybe up to another half hour. So we'll come back in a few minutes because this is a long process. Okay, so we're back to seeing oil in the pan because what's happened at this point is the onions have basically given up all of their moisture. And so right now, when that happens, the oil kind of that got absorbed by the onions leaks back out. And now what it's doing is it's doing the kind of, I call it like the end fry. So that's what stage we're in right now. And so you want to keep an eye on it at this stage. I have turned the heat down to 4. So I'm on medium low at this point. And right now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of moving it around the pan. You don't want it to stick. And so we're spreading it back over the pan so that it cooks evenly. And I'm setting a timer at this point. Let me just get it completely spread out here. Setting a timer for 1.5 minutes. And when that happens, I'll come back and I'll do that some more until it's done. But essentially we're at that stage where every 1.5 minutes we're stirring it. And because the oil has come back out at this point, it's frying the onions, so it's gonna go a little faster. But we're almost there. It's been 1 hour and 20 minutes and we're in the home stretch at this point. So now it's actually starting to build a little fond. So at this point, you don't really want to step away. You just want to keep going with it. I might let it sit like a couple more times because it's not as dark as I'd like it to be, but I'm still keeping an eye on it and I'm reducing the timer to just 1 minute instead of 1.5 minutes. So that's kind of what we're doing. So this is about as far as I want to take this. I've seen people take it a little further, but I think we're about there. And it's starting to catch on the bottom a little bit, which is fine for this stage because we're done. But yeah, it should look like this. I mean, this was 5 flippin' onions. 5 onions cooked down to this.
In less or more than?
But yeah, it took
more than an hour.
I think because, yeah, when I've done this before, I haven't used this many onions. So, all told, it was about 90 minutes. And yeah, so we are good here. Okay, so I'm gonna get this into a bowl so that it stops cooking, and we are going to let this sit for probably about 20 minutes before we do the final assembly. And that way the pie will be ready, nice and set. This won't be so hot that it freaks everything out, but it'll still be kind of warm, and that's okay. All right. Yep. We're finally, this has been a journey, hasn't it, friends? We're finally ready for assembly. And I actually need one more thing. I'm gonna grab a brush. And we're gonna first add some fig spread to the top of this. And it's a little bit thick, so I will try and spread it with a spoon, and if it doesn't go all the way, then I'll use a brush. But I've warmed this up a little in the microwave. I did it at 50% power for 30 seconds. And it made it a pretty good consistency for this purpose. All right, so now I'm just gonna brush it. Because you want it to go all the way to the edge. And it's just gonna add a little bit more depth of flavor.
Yes.
And this is why you want the cheese custard to set up too, because you want to be able to do this at the end without it disrupting the top. And this turned out just fine. And now I've got, can you believe that this was 5 onions? It's just how it goes. Like, yeah. I think I'm gonna use a clean spoon. So now we're gonna take our end product from our caramelization, and it's just gonna go on top. And that was just the timer letting me know that it was time to start doing this. Yeah, we set the timer and then we went to the post office and came back, and
it was cool by the time.
it was pretty cool. So I was just like, let's just do it. So we are just spreading this until it reaches the edges. And it turns out that 5 onions was the perfect amount of onion for this tart.
For real.
This is gonna be so good. Caramelized onions taste so good. All right. So now we're gonna let this, I know, but we're gonna let this sit for probably another, I don't know, 15 minutes or so before we cut into it.
Just to let the flavors melt.
Well, more so that it cools a little bit more, yes. So, I mean, you don't want to cut into it when it's like, the onions are still a little bit hot. And it's better to just kind of let it just do its thing for a few minutes. So yeah, I mean, the flavors obviously will melt too. Yeah. So here we go. Actually cut well. It's a little hard.
A little crunchy.
Well, it's not a soggy bottom. That's
No
for sure.
soggy bottoms here.
No,
Definitely not.
not a soggy bottom.
Crunchy. Crispy bottoms only.
Wow. Oh, did I get it? No. It's a little bit. Where to get through on this side? All right. Maybe don't film this.
Okay.
Damn.
It showcases how reliable that recipe
Okay,
is.
there we go. So, got that set up pretty nicely. And I'm going to try it. Oh, that's good.
Yay.
You got the tartness still from the goat cheese. The sweetness is barely there, but just enough from the figs. And these onions are the star. They're the star of the show. The crust, not soggy.
Plain to see.
Make this.
Do it. Come on.
This can be served at room temperature or cold. And yeah, it's worth making.
Spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, people at your party will like it if that's what you're making it for. So yeah, like me, share me, subscribe to me. And I'll see you again soon. Hello. All right, we should start that over.
Just go on.
All right. So here I've measured out.
Those eggs are very well taken care of.
Yeah.
The chickens that make the eggs are
The chickies. Yes, indeed.
They see the sun and the sun's yellow and they're like,
Oh, that's
I
right.
am inspired. Lays
Nice.
egg. The
Uh-huh.
egg is yellow.
Woohoo!
It repeats the circle of life.
Something like that.
Yes.